I think the important thing is first look at, why did I do this? Why did I take LSD? It was to feel good and to experience, consciousness on another level. The first time I took it, was back in high school, and it was like a euphoric feeling, and I had a great time. I listened to my dad playing guitar, and it was just a really good experience. Now, I took it again, and it was like I had taken that first trip and I had added something on top of it, and it was like another level I had reached. And every time I took LSD, it built up on itself. And somewhere along the line, like, the fun had kind of dissipated, and it was more about trying to get plugged back into that, like, matrix where, like, I almost get, like, high on my thoughts. One thought leads to another, and, like, it led to delusion. I thought that, I thought that the CIA was, like, watching me and, like, was using satellites to send pulses into my brain, and that's just some of the crazy stuff I was thinking. I was believing in aliens, and I thought that, like, the LSD was a way to, like, tap into that. So I had, like, created my own little world, my own, like, bubble of pretty much nonsense that seemed completely real at the time when I was tripping, But, now a couple years down the road, I was just living in complete delusion. And it's very, very painful to, like, come to that realization, because I had lived in that bubble, for so long. It was just not good. I wound up in mental institutes. And, a lot of people, that's what happens, We go to institutes, from taking these drugs. I know, Pink Floyd is a band I really like to listen to. Their original lead singer, Syd Barrett, wound up in a mental institute. His brain was fried. He could no longer be, a musician, and his whole life was ruined because of LSD, And luckily for me, I came out of it, Thank God I came out of it, But some people, they just stay in that mode, for the rest of their lives. So, for me, like, now, like, I have to, like, be down to earth and be more realistic about things, and just shift away from that mentality of, like, I know exactly what's happening, my perspective is 100% correct. I have to, like, use other people now to help shape my perspective, because even without the LSD, I'll come up with things in my mind that I believe are true, but are really not. And I need other people's perspective to kind of, like, shift mine into, a view that is realistic, I don't see things the way they really are. I have my own perspective. But, I need people in my life, And for me, LSD really isolated myself. And, isolation is no good. It leads to misery and, paranoia and all that negative stuff. So I need people in my life. And I think that's the solution, that comes out of this is, I don't need to be out there in the abyss, tripping, trying to find out the meaning of life. And that's what it was, really. I wanted to know the meaning of life. But I get so much more out of just being involved in different activities, and, my meaning of life changes every day. Right now I'm doing this activity, I'm in the moment. That's the other thing I wanted to try to project with LSD, like into the future. I try to predict the future, and right now I'm in this moment and I'm enjoying this moment, and that's really a miracle, from where I was, which I really just tried to project my thoughts. And now I can just enjoy what's in front of me. I can be involved in people's lives in different activities, and my life is much better. So clean and sober is the way to go.